first season as a Thunder player went?
Interesting. Kind of first, I'm kind of just start off by saying that kind of it's been a I'm very appreciative of the way that you guys was able to kind of implement me into this community, into the city and the organization. So I'll just say thank you guys for that. On the flip side of that, it's just for me, I think this season as an individual, it was very kind of challenging for me as far as kind of coming here at the last minute, right before training camp, being and willing to kind of sacrifice kind of my game and style of play and coming to a new situation, kind of not knowing what to expect, having to figure it out on the fly, figuring it out on the fly and accepting that and kind of just taking the other challenges that comes along with that transition. I thought we did a kind of a great job of just adjusting to that and figuring that part out. I know that the season didn't, end the way we wanted to, wanted the season to end, but I think anytime you're going through transformation, these are the steps and these are the things that is going to happen. And it's just some things that we have to evaluate. It's some things that we have to kind of step away from the game now, even, although we're out the playoffs, we're not playing them more. It's just some things that we all, as a team, as individuals, as an organization, have to just evaluate and how we want to move forward.
Do you see yourself coming back for a second year?
Yeah, I mean, it's you jump right to it. I mean, it's something that like I said, I've enjoyed, my 6 months, 7 months here, a lot have went into these 6 months, but I think now it's just more about kind of just reevaluating everything, me individually, career-wise, team-wise. Just things that you have to step away from the game now that you have the time to, and kind of just get away from it for a little bit and almost reevaluate everything.
What's the biggest thing you're looking for out of your career at this stage in your career? What's the ultimate thing you need to have done and get accomplished?
Well, winning. I think winning will always be the most important thing for me at this point. I think also just I think we have to figure out exactly what we want to do and how we want to do it as a team, as players. I think that's the biggest and most important thing that we all have to figure that out this offseason.
What was the biggest challenge for you this season, Carmelo?
I think just being, I don't want to say stripped, but I think just challenging me to be a different type of player, a different caliber player, a guy who's for 14 seasons have been a certain type of player, and to kind of be challenged and tested and say, okay, we need you to be this player, this type of player, this caliber of player, very different than what I was used to before in the past. I think for me that was the most challenging part of it, but also being willing to accept that, understanding the situation and the circumstances that I was handed to.
In what ways did Billy Donovan kind of help you accept that new role, switching positions, and just kind of make the transition from New York to Oklahoma City?
Yeah, well, I think it wasn't so much of making the transition from New York to Oklahoma City. It was more so making the transition of playing a certain way for 14 seasons and then switching to a completely, totally different style of player in this one season. So, it was more so of me going to Billy and asking him, what did you need from me in order for this team to be successful? And like I said, all of that happened on the fly. Like, we had to learn that on the fly. Like, it wasn't planned. Maybe Billy had a plan of how he wanted to go into training camp. And then you had another component of me being traded in at the 24th, 25th hour. So now it was like, how are we going to implement this component into what I already have going on? So there's a lot of things that went into play this season.
Carmelo, your leadership and your veteran presence in the locker room has been very clear from the outside. How hard is it to balance that status in the locker room while you're undergoing your own transformation at the same time?
Well, yeah, that's natural. That's not something that's forced. That's just something that happens. Having a presence and being there for your teammates, remaining positive, being positive throughout any type of quote unquote adversity. And I think some of the adversity that we were faced this season, it wasn't really adversity to me, because I've been face to face with adversity over the past 4 or 5 years, and I wouldn't call it adversity what we've been through this year. I would call it more of a learning curve, and more educational than anything else.
Carmelo, when you talk about the player you've been and the player they wanted you to be, do you feel like you can excel as the guy they want you to be, or moving forward, do you need to reevaluate what your role is and figure out a balance between that old role and the new one?
Yeah, I think the player that they wanted me to be and needed me to be was for the sake of this season, should I say, because it was just so, like I said, everything was just thrown together, and it wasn't anything that was planned out. It wasn't no strategy to me being here and me being a part of the actual system and what type of player and things like that. As far as being effective as that type of player, I don't think I can be effective as that type of player. I think I was and willing to accept that challenge in that role. But I think I bring a little bit more to the game as far as being more knowledgeable in what I still can do as a basketball player.
Carmelo, you sort of referenced it earlier that the things you faced was more of a learning curve and not true adversity. I guess from your experience being in a lot of different locker rooms with a lot of different person, what made this group special that some of the things that were challenges didn't turn into adversity? What was special about the locker room and the group of guys that you had here?
Yeah, I think this locker room, well, I don't think I know this locker room and a group of guys were always trying to figure it out. We never had an issue of, guys going left, guys going their own way. Like we always stood together. Even when things, weren't going our way, we all rallied together and we believed in one another. But we didn't also believe in, we knew the type of players we had, the type of people we had. So when you know the type of people that you have around you, it's easier to face those learning curves, head on, face to face, and get through it together.
There's a narrative that Russell is difficult to play with, and you've obviously seen him a lot from the outside. You've now had a season on the inside. I'm wondering what you think of that narrative now that you've had a season with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't say difficult. Like I wouldn't say that. I think he's established himself as playing a certain type of basketball, and we've all established ourselves as playing a certain type of basketball. But I think in order for us to take that next level, we all have to sit down and figure out what each of us bring to the table. What can we bring to the table to make the pieces to the puzzle fit? So when I say kind of sitting down, reevaluating kind of what's going on, because at the end of the day, you got to take your hat off to Russell as well, because this was new to him as well. I mean, it was new to myself, it was new to Russ, it was new to Paul. This was a new situation to us. So I think we understand what we can be as a team. just a matter of how we're going to implement that and how we're going to utilize each other assets and each other talents to figure that out.
You guys have any conversations with each other? Because you got a decision, opt in, opt out. Paul's got his decision. Do you guys talk at all? You just kind of come to your own individual decisions in terms of what you do this summer?
No, it's you know, I think everybody has their own decision to make. But we talk, we communicate. I think that's the beauty in having the friendship and the relationship that we all have. Like it is something that we discuss. It is something that we talk about. But I think at the end of the day, is like right now, we all have to just go back and kind of get away from it now, and then reevaluate kind of the situation. And everybody has their own evaluations that they have to evaluate. You know, and I think everybody's situation is a little bit different.
When you talked about being effective or attempting to be effective in the way that the Thunder wanted you to be effective, in what way do you see you being a more effective player?
I mean, to be honest with you, I've became who I am by playing the way that I've played and establishing a style of play and a type of play throughout my career. So now it's about figuring out what is the best way to implement that game into something that we're trying to create. And it's not taking away nothing from Russell or Paul or anybody else or myself, you know, per se. I think we just all have to figure out how we're going to play and what's the style of play and what's most effective in the way that we're going to play. I think that's something that we have to figure that out.
If you guys all come back, how much better can you be next season?
I think if we all come back, I think this season would be, we would look at this season and we would say this was like, I don't know, preseason or training camp, and what we would be next season if we all came back. As far as having a year on our belt, being able to get settled, that transition period would be over with. That learning curve, we will have a lot of information that we, you know, can take from this season, and we can build on that. But like I said, that comes down to kind of the evaluation period at the end of the season.
Carmelo, what do you think Paul's going to end up doing?
Huh?
What do you think Paul's going to end up deciding on?
Wasn't Paul just in here? What did he say?
He's not telling us. I want the inside scoop.
I mean, I can't speak on another man. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's something that he has to sit down with his family, his team, and I mean, the word I keep using is reevaluate and evaluate the situation. And that's what Paul is gonna have to do. I think we all have to figure that part out.
What is free agency like in the process? Is it an exciting thing? Is it a nerve-wracking thing? Like, what's it like when you're kind of one of the more coveted guys on the market?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest with you, as a player, as a competitor, like, you feel, I mean, it's an honor to be wanted. You know, I think that's the most important thing, is to know that other teams want you, and, you know, other players want you to play with them. And but I think at the end of the day, the decision would come down to kind of what's best. You know, what's best for you as an individual, what's best for you and your family. So that's not something that, you know, I can actually speak on behalf of Paul. Like, I mean, he just got to take his time and, you know, talk to his family and kind of evaluate everything that's going on around him. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's an easy decision. Anytime you're in these situations, it's never an easy decision, because there's so much that goes into play. There's so much that comes along with that. You have this person saying that and this person saying that, and whether it's friends, family, people that's close to you. It's a lot of things that goes into that decision.